After triumph, there's always another journey waiting for you. Another person who needs you, another lesson to be learned. We are constantly challenged to defend and uphold that purpose. We've been given to raise strong children, to inspire the brokenhearted, to serve as life-changing medical professionals, whatever it is our call is to be. But how do we stay the course? Well, we stay the course by focusing on our purpose. So join us today for a great discussion. As always, we've got trending topics to discuss, research to dish, and of course, my weekly balance challenge. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back on the Live Exchange.
We're more connected than ever before. 90% of America's students use some form of social media, but not all of it's used in a good way. Hurtful posts online are leading to social isolation for many. Psychologists say it's bullying in a brand new way. Well, Beyond Differences and I Keep Safe are looking to change that with ideas for students, their parents, and even teachers. Take the pledge to be kind online and learn more at wearekindonline.com.
Great leaders aren't born. They're made, and not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
I'm more resourceful than I thought.
My suit can still make an impression.
My video games are still game changers.
And my lamp can bring others a bright future.
Because when I donate my stuff to Goodwill,
it helps fund job placement and training for people right in my community.
Now my stuff gets a second chance.
And will give someone in my community
a second chance too.
Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. That's goodwill.org. This message brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You accidentally cut your daughter's bangs unevenly. Do you A, line things up a centimeter from her hairline?
Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man.
No. Sweatbands are so hot right now. Everyone's wearing them. Like that basketball player and that other basketball player.
B, get spiritual.
Mom, where did all the mirrors go?
A reflection could never capture our true selves.
Huh?
Beauty is within.
C, look on the bright side.
Less time blow drying, more time texting.
Or D, show empathy.
Mom, you really don't have
Ta-da! Twinsies!
I kinda love it. As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Y'all need anything else?
Sensation Station Network.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and I am so thrilled to introduce my guest this morning, Dr. Chantrice Holliman. Am I saying it all right, or Holliman? I'm like over pronouncing it.
It sounded good.
So tell us a little about who you are. Well, first of all, let me tell you, she's the author of Teach, Stay, Love. And I love the title. I love the colors. I love the graphics. And so I've seen, you're doing some tour. You're making some appearances. I've seen, some things happen, and people have been doing nothing but giving rave reviews. So I had to bring her on here to talk about life purpose because, from what I've seen, before I actually had the book in hand, this seems like a book that's really going to help somebody stay in that purpose that they have. So I would love to hear you first tell us who you are and what you're about. And
Okay. Well, hi, Dr. Pam.
Hey.
How are you? Again, my name is Chantrice Sims Holliman. My students get offended when I don't say Dr. Chantrice Sims Holliman, so I'm Dr. Chantrice Sims Holliman.
I get that too.
I am a 14-year educator, and I actually never wanted to be a teacher. So a lot of when we talk about purpose, I really didn't have a choice. I'm one of those people who kind of believes that, especially if you are an educator, that you are called to this. Like, I believe that there's a difference between a profession and an vocation.
Right.
No, I'm sorry, a vocation.
Right.
A vocation is something that you are called to do. And because I'm an English teacher, I know that VOC, voc, means to call. It's a root word. So there's a difference between a profession and a difference between a vocation. And I believe your vocation is rooted in your purpose. It's one of those things that you don't have a choice about. I ran from teaching pretty much most of my life and kind of stumbled into education because I was going to do it until I was going to go back to corporate.
Okay.
So if you've ever seen the movie Mr. Holland's Opus.
Yes.
So if you know for those of you who haven't ever seen it, the whole premise was that he was going into education until he was able to fulfill his dream of creating his master opus. And then all these things happened. So teaching was kind of like the thing he was going to do until he really walked in what he thought his purpose was. And it turns out that his purpose was being an educator. And so that's kind of how I stumbled into education. Education was what I was doing until I became Susan Taylor, because that was my dream. I wanted to be the editor-in-chief of Essence Magazine.
Exactly, yes.
And I came into education and said, well, I'll just do this until I'm able to get there. And when I looked up, I had spent 13 years teaching students. And so that's kind of where my purpose came from, and I realized that my purpose was to teach students. Wow. And the really interesting thing about purpose is that, again, you have no choice. You can fight it, you can run, but eventually, whoever it is that you believe, I believe in God, that God will shift you, and He will just line you up. And when I look back at all the things I did prior to teaching, I've always been an educator.
Yes.
Even when I used to sell radio advertising a long time ago here in Atlanta for Glory 1340, which is now defunct. But and in that profession, I was teaching people how to use their ad dollars correctly. I sold cars, and so I was teaching people how to use their budget to get a car.
Oh, wow.
So teaching is something that I've always done. Like I said, I tried to get away from it. Didn't work. And so 13, 14 years ago, I walked into the profession, but I actually walked into my vocation at the same time.
Wow. I love that, because I always think of sales like, I don't do sales. But, you know, when you approach it with your gift, it gives it a whole different, you know, energy. You're able to, you do it, and then it just makes me think, okay, I'm going to approach sales from a teaching standpoint. That was my kind of my story too, in terms of how I got into teaching at the college level. I never even thought I would ever teach it. It was just never an interest of mine. And I started doing speaking engagements, and or not really speaking engagements, but presenting my research at conferences. And I realized, oh, I kind of like standing in front of a group of people and talking, and they're all looking at me. And I just really enjoyed the fact that what I had to say was meaningful for them, and that it was life-changing in a lot of ways. And I thought, wow, I never knew that this would be a vehicle for my purpose at all. So I completely get what you're saying. So how did you come about Teach, Stay, Love?
Okay, so when I walked into my first classroom back in 2005 at the Westlake High School, hi Lions, I fell in love. And I mean, I fell completely in love with what I was doing from the moment I stepped foot in front of my class. And I always told myself that, you know, I'm going to do this forever, and I'm going to love this forever. And I promised my students, I said, if I ever do this and it's no longer fun and I cease to love it, I said, I'll quit, because I believe that you deserve to have an educator, a teacher who is passionate about what you do. So did 10 years in the classroom.
Okay.
And then some things changed, some things happened, and I realized that I didn't want to do it anymore. And I got sad, because I was getting ready to walk away from the one thing that I knew I was purposed to do.
So let's leave that as a cliffhanger. And we're going to get into trending topics, and then we're going to learn about what happened next in your story.
Okay.
Primary election.
Lack of diversity. Gas prices.
Michael Jackson. Trending topics.
Okay, so gosh, trending this week. We've got a lot going on. I mean, we've had a lot going on for quite some time, and but I'm gonna say, we've got a mix of political news, sports news. So first of all, our current president now wants to ban, at least he tweeted this, transgender people from joining or staying in the military. Best of luck in doing that. I think that there's going to be a lot more loopholes than, it's not just something you tweet and it's done.
Especially if the people that you're supposed to be talking to, you haven't talked to.
You haven't. No, you just roll over in bed and tweet something and,
Right.
No, it doesn't work that way. And there have been, military officials have said, yeah, okay, but no, that's not going to happen, and so good luck with that one. But the next one is in a matter of 10 days, Anthony Scaramucci, a.k.a. the Mooch, has managed to do the following. He has managed to be hired as White House Communications Director. Mm-hmm. He made Sean Spicer, a.k.a. Lil Spicy, resign his job, even though, because he didn't want to work under Mooch.
Right.
He gave a horrendous and expletive-laden interview with Ryan Liza, a reporter for The New Yorker and a CNN contributor. And he pretty much gave Reince Priebus fired.
Yep.
Instead of witnessing the birth of his child, he was hanging out with the president on the green, on the golf.
I thought he was at the Boy Scout Jamboree. I thought that's where he was. I think that's where he was.
Okay.
Yeah, but he wasn't with his wife.
Right? Yeah. Well, and then the newborn's mother filed for divorce from him, and he resigned once Priebus's replacement was going to fire him anyway. I think karma just comes right back around.
Wow.
It just, in 10 days. This was his last 10 days.
He didn't even get through the probationary period.
No. And I'm pretty sure that there's something that must have come up, yeah. And then we got two more. We got Omarosa she has a hit list. All the enemies of 45's administration. So people like to write, she's kind of the new Proud Mary. She's looking at Roland Martin, April Ryan, Pastor Jamal Bryant. They're all on her hit list.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
Yeah, they because they're not in favor of her president.
Okay, well.
And then Colin Kaepernick is being blackballed from being signed to an NFL team, and people have, who have been given grace, like Ray Lewis and Michael Vick. Now they're talking a bunch of mess, so gotta live
Colin's fine.
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine. He will, yeah. So those are our trending topics. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. We'll be right back on the Live Exchange.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge?
Got to get this all straightened out. Keep a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve. It's now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend?
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
There's a power you have within you, unlike any other. You can't explain it. It's just there. It drives you, compels you. You cannot ignore it. Do you feel it? It's that power that tells you you can do the absolute impossible. The power that tells you you're more than what you currently are. The power that tells you it's time. Launch. Move. Skyrocket your life with Rocket Sports One fitness gear. RocketSports-1.com.
JBT's
700 Miami Circle, 30324. It's not a chain, it's a chain reaction.
Invest $49 a month at a real gym.
For more info, go to facebook.com/Jeans Body Tech.
Great leaders aren't born, they're made. And not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
The world is changing. That way. Sensation Station Network. Radio. Up, down, down.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and I'm joined here with Dr. Chantrice Holloman, and we are talking about life purpose. So she was telling us her story about how she came to writing this book, and she got to a point where she was ready to quit. She was feeling sad. What happens?
I actually remember the day really clearly. I was teaching my 4th block class of 37 ninth graders after lunch. And for my educators, all the educators just cringed because they understand what that means. 47 ninth graders after lunch, they were just all over the place.
Wow.
And I was sitting at the front of the classroom trying to get their attention, and I just kind of watched them do them. And I just got this feeling, I just looked and I said, I can't do this anymore. And my heart broke because I was sincere when I said, if this is no longer fun to me, then I'll quit. And I said, oh my God, I have to quit now.
Wow.
And I told my students, I said, y'all, I have to quit now. And they were like, wait, why? Why do you have to quit? And
You said this to them?
I did.
Wow.
And I said,
Talk about
because
transparency.
this, I can't do this anymore. This isn't fun for me. And they all got quiet. And they were like, well, we'll do better. And we'll act better. And you can't quit. And I was like, oh. And it was my daughter's senior year. And everybody in the building kind of knew. I said, well, and she went to the same school where I taught.
Okay.
So I always said, well, we're going to graduate together. So 10 years was her senior year, and I said, this is a perfect time for me to leave. But I didn't really want to leave. It took me some time to kind of figure out, okay, well, what is it that I want to do? And then I began to look around at my colleagues and other educators, and I realized I wasn't the only one. And these are phenomenal educators. These are people whose vocation, their calling is to teach, and they were tired and they were frustrated and they were worn out because as educators, we get beat up a lot. Yeah. We get beat up by the media, we get beat up by parents, administrators, neighbors, politicians, everybody.
Yes. Target of everything.
Target of everything. And after a while, you just get worn down. And so I was just like, it can't be this way. And then to add on top of that, teachers of color are becoming less and less prevalent in education. We're not going into education for a lot of reasons, and I said, this can't be. And so what happened is I started having some quiet time and meditating, and I kept getting these quotes, which just kind of drop in my spirit, and I was just like, oh, that's really good. And I would just kind of write them down, and then I realized that these quotes were coming at really interesting times in my day or in something that I was experiencing, and so I was able to attach them to the experience. And so one day I was actually in a meeting, and if my former principal is looking, I swear I was paying attention. But Teach, Stay, Love just kind of dropped in my spirit. I was like, oh, that's such a good title for a book. And so the first thing I did was I Googled. I was like, does that even exist? Let me go find it. And it didn't exist. So I bought the domain. I bought everything that .org, .com.
So there's a Teach, Stay, Love, or is it not?
Well, no, it is. It is.
Okay.
We'll get to that. And actually, if you, I have a Facebook page.
Okay.
And it's actually attached to that.
Got it.
And so that was where that started. And then I was waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and feeling the need to write. And I was like, okay, it's 3 a.m. I need to get some sleep. And so what happened was I began to take the quotes that I had been sort of given during my quiet time and started to write about them and started looking back at the things in my career that were attached to what the quote was. And before I knew it, I had a book, and I literally wrote the book. The first draft of the book I wrote over Christmas break. It took me 10 days.
Wow.
I was at the Starbucks, and I was working, and that was how the first draft came to be.
Wow. That is, and that's it's funny because that's how things come to me too. My book Letters to the Brokenhearted. I was driving one day, and the words refocus, rebuild, relove came to mind, and I immediately pulled over.
Right.
Did a Facebook post, wrote it down, and everybody loved it, and I thought this is the basis of the book. When things like that happen, you just have to go with it. You have to follow. You have to listen.
And there's some other stuff that happened too. So.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that too. So first, we're going to get into a little bit of science.
In the interest of science.
Okay, so I love this model. So it's gosh, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Ikigai. Do you speak any Japanese?
I used to a long time ago.
Okay, so Ikigai, it's
right.
spelled Ikigai. It's a Japanese concept meaning a reason for being. It is a really beautifully laid out model of for us to be able to determine whether or not the things that we're engaging in are at the intersection of what we love, what the world needs, what we can get paid to do, and what we're good at doing.
Yes.
So sometimes, and I'll read those four again: what you love, what the world needs, what can be paid for, and what you're good at.
Wow.
Yes.
I just got chills. I'm like, wait, I think I found my Ikigai.
Are you in the middle?
I think I'm in the middle.
Oh, that is so good, because a lot of us end up being, on one side. Maybe we're only doing what we're good at, but it has nothing to do with what we love, what the world needs, or what we can get paid for. Some of us may be at the intersection of what the world needs and what we can get paid for, and that's great. But what that means is we're at a place of excitement and complacency, but we have a sense of uncertainty because we're not quite in what we love. We're not quite in what we're good at. So each of these, each intersection has kind of a description of what this means for your life. So let's just say that you are doing what you love and you're doing what the world needs. That sounds perfect, right? That sounds like,
but you're broke.
Combination. Right. You're broke. So it says, and that's exactly what it says. You have delight and fullness, but no wealth. And some people may say money's not everything, but the reality is we need a roof over our heads. We need to be able to eat. And some people have managed to live their lives, Gandhi, for example, with meager means, and he's focusing on what he loves, and he's focused on what he needs, what the world needs. And so for some people, that may be perfectly okay. If we look at the other side here, if you are doing what you're good at, and you're doing what you can be paid for, you'll be very comfortable. You're fulfilled, but you have an internal feeling of emptiness because, you're fulfilled on the outside, you have the house and all that, but you may not have a sense of that this actually means something. I'm doing what I'm here to do. And then the other intersection, if you're doing what you love and you're doing what you're good at, you have satisfaction, but you have a feeling of uselessness because now you're not doing what the world needs and you're not really getting paid for it. So there's satisfaction but uselessness. So if you can get at the center, there's a combination of passion, mission, profession, and vocation. You have achieved Ikigai. So
when we get a copy of that.
Yes, and I'm going to post it as well so you guys can all see this. But I'm going to ask for your thoughts on where you are in this when we come back. Stay with us.
I'm more resourceful than I thought.
My suit can still make an impression.
My video games are still game changers.
And my lamp can bring others a bright future.
Because when I donate my stuff to Goodwill,
it helps fund job placement and training for people right in my community.
Now my stuff gets a second chance.
And will give someone in my community
a second chance too.
Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. That's goodwill.org. This message brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
We're more connected than ever before. 90% of America's students use some form of social media, but not all of it's used in a good way. Hurtful posts online are leading to social isolation for many. Psychologists say it's bullying in a brand new way. Well, Beyond Differences and I Keep Safe are looking to change that with ideas for students, their parents, and even teachers. Take the pledge to be kind online and learn more at wearekindonline.com.
People are always looking to invest in a good opportunity. So what if you could invest in the future of kids, like a stock? Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change called Better Futures. With your investment, it helps students like me go to college. My name is Charles, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. Brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
Marie Callender's knows that you may not have time to roll out dough for a perfectly flaky crust that's made from scratch, or enough time to mix vegetables with all white meat chicken and a homemade gravy. She knows you may not have a moment to crimp the edges of your favorite chicken pot pie, but Marie Callender's does. And when she's done, all you need to do is find time to grab someone special, sit down, and savor. Marie Callender's, it's time to save.
Our freedom and security are made possible through the service and sacrifice of our military and first responders. The Gary Sinise Foundation provides many outreach programs supporting these brave men and women. Join us. Donate at GarySiniseFoundation.org.
Welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and we are talking about life purpose. For those of you who want to chime in, if you have anything to say, you want to call us, you want to ask questions, the number is 678-613-5857. That's 678-613-5857. So I was just sharing the Japanese concept of why we're here, and it's called Ikigai, and it's a model that that I discussed. And I was asking, and Dr. Holloman immediately was like, "Oh yeah, I can identify with this." And I'm curious to know, because you said that you find yourself in the middle, at the intersection of what you love, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, and what you're good at. When did you get to that point? And I know you were talking about your journey to the book. Right. Were you there at that point?
No, I wasn't there, although looking at that, I kind of feel like I was on the that sounds really existential, but I was on the path to Ikigai. Okay. I think that in a lot of ways I'm there now because I am doing what I love. I am... After 13 years at Westlake High School, I am actually blessed to be in a new position. I am the new Director of Professional Development and New Teacher Induction at the Hapeville Charter Schools. So I'm at the middle school and I'm at the high school as well, and I get the joy. I have the joy of working with teachers every day in order to support them and also to help them improve their best practice, which is something that I love. Like you, I love standing in front of people and sort of giving them what they need. It really, which is interesting because my students know this. A lot of people don't know this, but that I grew up very, very, very terrified of speaking in front of people. Wow. Like I would get nauseous, I would cry, I would do all of these things. You were not going to get me. My parents, and hi Mom and Dad if you're listening, used to make me every Sunday evening stand in the living room and like read and give speeches to get me over my fear. And I would just stand there and like, I'm not doing this and I'm just not going to do it. So
that was like my parents making me eat peas, and
I don't like peas. I don't like peas. And anybody who knows me knows. And my mother was like, and I would count the peas. I'm like, I'm eating 5 peas. That's all I'm doing. So I'm in a position now where I'm getting paid to do what I love. I'm doing what I love. What's the other one?
What the world needs, what you're good at.
I happen to be pretty good at what it is that I do. And I don't know if the world needs it, but I know that educators. Okay, well, the world needs it.
Yes.
Needs encouragement and inspiration. And so the book, Teach, Stay, Love, is actually set up into 3 sections. Want to guess what the 3 sections are? Teach, Stay, and Love. And all of the stories that are in there come from my own personal experience as a teacher The stay portion probably was the one that I cried through the most because that's really where I had to tap into, okay, why am I going to stay in this profession?
Okay.
And I began to think about the reasons why. And I thought about my students, and I thought about the colleagues that I work with, and the people that I know that put their life's blood into what it is that they do for these students, and why they need to stay. You know, because if you're not teaching the children, who's going to teach them?
Right.
And we already know that there's a massive teaching shortage just here in Georgia. Well, I'm sorry, just here in Metro Atlanta, let alone in the country. And so the reasons why we need you, why the students need you, and then the things that I loved about what it is that I do. And so all of that kind of came together in the book. And I've had people who aren't educators buy the book and read it and say, I need this. I've had students buy the book and say, I need this. You know, this isn't just for educators. And so, and that really was a blessing, because in my mind I'm thinking, well, this is just for teachers. But no, it really isn't. And people have told me as much, and have said that they've after reading some of the sections, that they have like renewed faith in what it is that they are purposed to do. And I tell people, I said, you know, a lot of times we're looking for a pat on the back from someone to tell us, you know, an atta girl, or you did a good job. And really what Teach, Stay, Love is, it's teaching you how to give yourself the pat on the back.
Yes, that's
because
so important.
Because people may not ever know how excellent you are until you recognize and acknowledge how excellent you are.
Right.
And once you start, you know, flossing just a little bit, you know, when people may say that, you know, it's arrogant, but it's not. Once you kind of start saying, you know, I'm a pretty amazing person, and you start operating in that feeling,
right?
That's when other people, they're like, well, why she thinks she the bomb?
Yeah.
We'll come find out.
People pay
and then
attention.
they're like, oh, okay, I understand now. So that's kind of the whole story. And I think that I'm absolutely, where am I? Ikigai.
Yes.
I think that I'm there now, and it is such, at 44, it is like the best feeling ever.
That's a blessing. Wow.
Yep.
Wow. And, you know, and sometimes a lot of, you know, you mentioned the attaboy, attagirl, you know, and sometimes people don't do it not because they don't see your greatness, but because they're so focused on themselves that we don't often take the time out to just say, you know what, you're doing an amazing job.
Right.
We kind of take for granted what other people bring to the table.
Right.
And often are down on ourselves because nobody's recognizing us. And so it just becomes this cycle of nobody recognizing anybody. So it's those kinds of environments I can see where it's really important for us to be able to think about why we're staying, why we're doing what we're doing, why we love, you know, what it is that we do. So that, I love it. I love it. So we're going to get into the Love Your Life Challenge, brought to you by BBLA Cosmetics, the people who are responsible for the look on my face right now.
I think you can make with them.
Dr. Pamela. Dr. Pamela. Dr. Pamela.
I'm not good at makeup either, so they good job. So this week on the Balance Challenge, I want you guys to think about the Ikigai model, and I want you to think about 4 elements, okay? The model is pretty complex. There's intersections and there's definitions within, but I want you to think about these 4 particular sections. Number 1, what do you love? Okay, think about that. Process that. Number 2, what does the world need? Number 3, what can you be paid for? And number 4, what are you good at? So what is the one answer that rings true for all 4 of those things? Now, that is not as easy as you think. You know, you may say, I love to write, but then you may say, does the world need it? Well, you have to figure out the way in which the world needs your writing.
Right.
You know, it's so that is your mission, you know, to figure that out. What can you be paid for? Well, some writers get paid and some don't. So you have to figure out how you can go about this writing and get paid for it. What are you good at? Are you good at writing, or you just like it? That's important. So being able to look at these 4 elements, what do you love? What does the world need? What can you be paid for? And what are you good at? What is at the intersection of those 4 things? For me, writing and teaching are those 4 things. I never would have ever thought teaching would have been in that.
Right.
You know, if you had asked me when I was 18, because my goal was to write and to be Oprah, you know.
Yes.
So, you know, we both had
That's
pretty
right.
lofty goals, and you know, and I'm not saying it's not happening. You know, I will not be Oprah, but you know what I mean, on that career path, and I, you know, and it's not to say that it won't happen, but I do now understand the intersection of those four elements and what it is that I need to focus and put my energy into. And when we do those things, the greater things come from that.
Right.
And greater can mean greater money, greater love. It can mean whatever is significant for you in your life, you know.
Greater peace.
Greater peace. Woo. Yes. So, and, you know, so when we say, oh, that person is doing really well, they've got a lot of money, that does not mean that they are walking in purpose, that they're at peace, that they even love their lives. So we have to be really careful at looking at the external and using that as a basis for what it is that we want with our own lives.
Right.
So.
And we also will look at people and not know. We see them where they are, but we have no idea how they got there. And so oftentimes we'll say, you know, I'm going to be like that person. I was like, you don't know the backstory. And then you find the backstory, you're like, never mind.
Did you want to go through all of that first?
I'm good. I'm going to stay right here.
Yes, because our journeys are the things that take us to where we are today. So if you don't know somebody's journey, which is why I now, you know, I'm really careful about, well, I want to be Oprah. Well,
yeah.
You know,
if you know Oprah's backstory, I don't want to be Oprah.
Right.
Oprah, you got that, girl.
You got that, Oprah. I'm going to let you have that. So you have to really think about your own journey and all of those elements that make up who you are and what it is you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
So I read something, I took something from the book that I really wanted to touch on. So this comes from, I believe, and you can correct me, the stay section. Sometimes working in a school is the equivalent of being in the movie Mean Girls. There are cliques and gossip and people who are just downright nasty. Add that to your haters, and it can feel like your worst high school nightmare come to life. But in the face of such circumstances, your job isn't to succumb to the negativity. Nope. Your job is to be great in spite of what is going on around you.
Yes.
Woo, I love that.
That is one of my favorite parts of my book, if I can have a favorite part of my book.
I picked the favorite part.
There's another one, but that one is because even in my career, that I've had people who were just mean, and I mean weren't supportive. I've seen it with other educators. Sometimes as educators, sometimes even as women, we have the tendency to want to not celebrate when our sister or our colleagues does something well. We want to downplay them and roll them under a bus.
Yes.
And even when that happens, you can't let them steal your shine.
Right.
And you've got to be excellent anyway.
So on that note, we're going to go to a break, and I want to know a little bit more about this because I have experienced the mean girl phenomenon. So I want to stay on this just for a minute. So stay with us. We'll be right back on the Live Exchange.
We're more connected than ever before. 90% of America's students use some form of social media, but not all of it's used in a good way. Hurtful posts online are leading to social isolation for many. Psychologists say it's bullying in a brand new way. Well, Beyond Differences and I Keep Safe are looking to change that with ideas for students, their parents, and even teachers. Take the pledge to be kind online and learn more at wearekindonline.com.
Okay, so 5 tacos of cheese and a large soda, that's $10,012. Please drive around.
Wait, 10,000 what?
It's obvious you're buzzed and driving.
I've only had a few. I'm fine.
Yeah, the food's $12, but getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Please drive around. Actually, just park and come in.
Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Great leaders aren't born. They're made, and not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, and father of 5. I'm also an expert on drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids, and there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org.
And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ed Council.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. You know, I help people solve difficult problems every day, but one problem has me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. Luckily, the Feeding America network of local food banks collects surplus food, giving hope to hungry children and their families. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
And so a new American industry has been born.
Sensation Station Network.
Welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and joining me today is Dr. Chantrice Holloman, who is here to help me dissect this topic of life purpose. So we were just talking about her book and the quote in her book that talked about mean girls. I've been a victim of mean girls. So let's talk about that a little bit. How have you experienced that in your life?
Well, interestingly enough, I was bullied most of my childhood, so
me too.
Mean Girls is something that I'm pretty familiar with. But even in my professional life, I've had people that I thought were my colleagues. We're going to put colleagues in air quotes, who have either said some pretty sarcastic or ugly things to me or behind my back, especially as I really started walking in my purpose, and things started becoming very positive for me. I remember a situation where I had a student who would skip every class but mine. Every class but mine. But he was actually one of my favorites. He had a twin brother. And they were always in trouble. But they weren't always in trouble because they were bad kids. They were always in trouble because they questioned everything. And I'm going to go ahead and take credit for that because I encourage my students to do that.
Yes.
And so, but he was failing my class because he wouldn't do any of the work. He took his end of the course standardized test and rocked like a 96 on it.
Wow.
Which didn't surprise me, even though you would look at his grades in the grade book and you would look at his test and you're like, how was that even a thing? And I said, because he's smart. Not every child should be in the four walls of a school.
Yes.
So when his test scores came out, there was a teacher who was across the hall from me, and I was just so excited. I was in the hallway. I was like, oh my God, he got a 96. And she kind of looked at me and she said, you must have cheated for him.
Whoa.
And I'm looking at him like, I'm sorry, that's not what I do. She said, well, he doesn't do anything in my class, so clearly, you helped him out. I said,
wow.
I said, no, I didn't. He came to class. We had a relationship, and he told me he was going to do well. And she's just like, I don't believe it. She's like, you're not that good.
Wow.
So
because your light was a slap in the face to her.
Right. And so, and that hasn't happened often, but it's happened enough. And I've seen it happen to other teachers where I just kind of sit back and was like, did she really just, or did he really just?
Yeah.
And so you just have to learn to be great anyway.
Yes.
Put on straighten your crown and just handle it.
Yeah.
In spite of.
Right.
So yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. And if any of you have a story that you'd like to share, give us a call, 678-613-5857. I think that's so interesting because it was very loud and clear to me that, okay, so she hasn't taken the time to get to know this student, to know that this was his capacity, to begin with. And as you said, you built a relationship, so you had that kind of understanding of him. Yeah. So, and it's interesting. I've had similar situations from the standpoint of realizing that somebody looks at me in a certain way that I didn't realize was the case. And we had a situation where where there was a scheduling decision that was made for me to teach a class that I really was not well versed in. And I later learned the individual who scheduled it later approached me and said, I have to be honest, I did that because I was jealous of you.
Wow.
So
Well, at least they were transparent.
Right, and you never would know these things, you know, and so it's like the mean girl act was in assigning it because it was a, you know, but then later coming back around, and I'm grateful that the individual had the wherewithal to even do that.
Right.
But sometimes we don't realize why some things are happening, and a lot of it could be mean girl, quotes, acts that we don't even realize, you know, is being committed.
Right.
So, but we'll be right back. We've got more. Stay with us on the Live Exchange.
Great leaders aren't born, they're made. And not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
There's a power you have within you, unlike any other. You can't explain it. It's just there. It drives you, compels you. You cannot ignore it. Do you feel it? It's that power that tells you you can do the absolute impossible. The power that tells you you're more than what you currently are. The power that tells you it's time. Launch, move, skyrocket your life with Rocket Sports One fitness gear. RocketSports-One.com.
Indoor baseball, anyone?
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Viola Davis. Did you know that 1 in 5 kids in America struggle with hunger? Growing up, I was one of those kids, but we can solve this. When we make breakfast happen for kids in our neighborhood, we have the power to end childhood hunger, create bigger, brighter school days, and healthier minds and bodies. Go to hungeris.org and lend your time or your voice.
We're hungry for more.
A message from the Albertsons Companies Foundation and the Entertainment Industry Foundation.
Sensation Station Network.
Radio 2, Atlanta.
Welcome back to the Live Exchange. You're good. You got to be on cue. We're talking about life purpose, and we're looking at life purpose from the standpoint of, Teach, Stay, Love is a book by Dr. Chantrice Holloman, who is here to talk about that. But life purpose doesn't come easy. You know, there are things that we have to go through before we actually walk in it, before we even realize that it is a part of, you know, who we are. Give us a call, 678-613-5857. So one of the things that I've been reading a book, it's called The Book of Joy, and it's by the Dalai Lama and, okay, I should be ashamed of myself, because it's the two, like, religious leaders who are, oh my goodness. Okay, well, it'll come to me. But the two of them engage in conversation, and the book is really about the insight that comes from their conversations. And so the Dalai Lama has called, what he said is, the Dalai Lama has called the very purpose of life the goal of avoiding suffering and discovering happiness. So the purpose, our purpose, is to avoid suffering and to discover happiness. What do you think about that? Do you agree or disagree? Not that I'm trying to get you to dispute the Dalai Lama here, but could life purpose be this simple? Is it not deeper, or is this really the essence of what it is?
To avoid suffering and find happiness. I can...
I put her on the spot here.
Right. Well, because it's part of me wants to say it's deeper than that, but and maybe just my analytical mind is like, it can't possibly be that simple. It just can't be. There has to be something else. but to avoid suffering and find happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it is the purpose, but I don't. I want to know how you do that.
How do you do that?
How do you?
Well, and it doesn't say to eliminate suffering. It's it's to avoid it, to minimize it, as much as possible.
Okay, then I can get with that. And I think that if you are walking in your purpose,
Mm-hmm.
then I think to a degree you're avoiding suffering and walking in happiness.
Well, and you're doing the same for others, I would
Right.
think. So we have a caller. So hello, who's on the line?
Hi, this is Robbie Ramsey.
Hello.
Hi, Robbie Ramsey.
Where are you calling from?
I just really wanted to call in and say that I absolutely love Dr. Holman, and I think that she is a major, major inspiration in so many people's lives.
Oh, wow.
Oh, thank you,
How
Robbie.
so? Can you speak to that? She's so modest. She has not yet told us that she's an inspiration to so many people. So what does she do that's so inspirational?
What has she done?
Yes.
She is.
Hello? Oh, uh-oh.
I know. You know what is so important about Dr. Centrice is that even when she's at her lowest point, she is always able to lift other people in her life.
Wow. That is big. That is big.
Wow. Thanks,
well,
Robbie.
Thank you. And thank you so much for calling. And that's exactly, even when you're down, you're helping other people. And that, I guess, if we want to say that this is helping other people avoid suffering and discovering their happiness despite what's going on in your life. And, I would assume in your down times, you're trying to bring yourself out of it.
Yeah, it's interesting that she would say that because, I've always been told that one of my gifts is the gifts of helps. That I'm a mother for real. Hi, Asada, that's my child. If she's listening, but that I've always been a mother. And if you're a mom and you know that when you have a child and you have children, they are your first priority.
Yes.
So I think, and we always tend to put ourselves on the back burner, and that's kind of how I've always been. And I don't know where that came from. I'm an only child. But one of the things that I've actually heard people say about me is that, even at my old school, my nickname was Mama Westlake because I was everybody's mama. I was teacher's mama. I was the student's mother. And I think that's where that comes from.
Okay.
Of just sort of having that motherly spirit of wanting to make sure that everybody is okay before I take care of myself. So.
I love it. I mean, and sometimes we have to be reminded to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
I'm
learning.
I get that as well. But and it's just like the old oxygen mask analogy.
Right.
We take care of ourselves so that we can take care of others, and we're much better equipped to do so when we're in good shape ourselves. So
I'm still learning that.
Yes,
I'm working on it.
Yes, so
I'm getting better.
and we all have our areas to work on. It's certainly one for myself as well. So we are going to get into love notes.
Love Notes with Dr. Pamela.
Okay, so I have this question from a listener, Morel. And her question was, she inboxed me with this one. Dear Dr. Pamela, purpose is great and all, but I need to put food on the table. Everyone isn't a Gandhi. I have a mortgage to pay. What if paying the mortgage is my purpose? Why do I need to look for something bigger than that?
Wow.
That's a good question. I'm looking at Dr. Holloman like, you got anything on that?
What if my purpose is paying the mortgage? I get it, but I just believe that, and this is not to say that your purpose isn't to pay the mortgage.
Right.
I think that you can still operate in something bigger, and the key, especially with the ikigai, is to find how to operate in something bigger, i.e., something that you love that also allows you the finances to pay the mortgage.
Right.
So
what the world needs.
It's what the world needs. And again, I get it. But if what you're doing to pay the mortgage isn't fulfilling, and it's not what you love,
there you go.
And it's not, and again, I've been there, and I've had some jobs that I hated, but I needed them because I had a daughter.
Right.
And I had to pay the mortgage, and she likes to eat, and we needed a car. And at those times, I was miserable because I knew I wasn't operating in what it was that and at the time, I didn't know what that was.
Right.
I had to kind of, figure it out and try some things, and it wasn't until much, much later. But I think the key is to pay your mortgage while you're walking in your purpose. Now, if just paying your mortgage is doing it for you, great, because for some people that's good enough.
Right.
But part of that makes me a little sad.
Yeah.
Because I think that we were all created to be something bigger than maybe what we think we are. So, again, if paying your mortgage is doing it for you and you're happy and you're fulfilled, great. But wouldn't it be even better if you could pay your mortgage and be at that place of ikigai, walking in your purpose? So.
Right. I love that. And, and if we look at it from a relative standpoint, for some people, maybe paying the mortgage is a great victory because maybe they've come from generations of poverty and but that doesn't mean that's where it stops.
Right.
It means that maybe this is the great accomplishment of your past. So, but we keep accomplishing, we keep progressing. We don't just stop and that's it. And there's nothing more that I will accomplish.
Right.
I don't know how we can live. It's kind of like that idea of change or die. I mean, I don't know how our skin cells are changing as we're sitting here talking. So we have to change, so I get it as well, like you said. But I also think, and I think, take pride and be, if this is truly a victory for you, honor that. So because certainly don't want to minimize it by any means, but also challenge yourself to dig deeply and see, is there something else, out
and
there.
sometimes that's just scary.
It is.
Having to move out of your comfort zone. And people who know me know that the name of my company is Disturb the Universe.
I love that.
And it actually comes from a T.S. Eliot poem. But the whole concept of that is that it's beyond getting out of your comfort zone. It's beyond thinking outside the box. It's making you uncomfortable making yourself uncomfortable and making the people around you uncomfortable to the point where there is a massive shift in a different direction that is leading you towards your purpose.
Wow. So there is this new show. It's a very brief, like 10-minute episodes. Coco. It's a show where this woman talks about race, and it's kind of a spin-off. It's a parody, but it really deals with some serious racial issues in a really creative way. And one of the things that she said, because she's at a party and it's pretty much predominantly white participants, and she's talking about Black Lives Matter, and her friend's like, I need you to chill out. And she said, why is everybody obsessed with being comfortable? And it was such a good point, while it's supposed to be comical, but I mean, it drives home some really good points. Why are we obsessed with being comfortable? I'll leave you with that. We'll be right back.
Well, you'll see what happens. Sensation Station Network.
Welcome back to the Live Exchange. We are in our second hour, and we are talking about life purpose. The Live Exchange is where we talk about we have compelling dialogue around love, politics, and intellect every Thursday, 11 to 1. So we are halfway through, and today we're talking about life purpose, and I'm joined by Dr. Chantrice Holloman, teacher, author of Teach, Stay, Love, blogger, and she has a lot of really great insight on this topic. There's one point that I had mentioned at the beginning of the show earlier that I would love to revisit, because I would love to hear your thoughts on this. And this is actually coming, shameless plug, from my own upcoming book, Secrets of the Obsessed. Once we've overcome one dark period, even after enlightenment, success, bright flowy clothes, and bliss, we may be faced with another dark period, and another, and another. Guess what? After triumph, there is always another journey waiting for you. Another person who needs you, another lesson to be learned. We are constantly challenged to defend and uphold that purpose we've been given, to raise strong children, to inspire the brokenhearted, to serve as life-changing medical professionals, to be the voices of those rarely heard, whatever that is for you. So how do we stay the course? We stay the course by focusing on purpose. One of the things I didn't know when I was, dreaming big about what I want to be when I grow up and what career I'm gonna delve into, and I paid close attention to Oprah and the guests she would have on the show, especially now that she does the Super Soul Sundays, and I look at their journeys, and I was naive in the sense that I thought once they went through their dark periods, they were good for life. Their rest of their life was supposed to be dedicated to teaching the rest of us. And so that was my goal. Once I get through my dark period, I'm good. Thoughts, Dr. Holloman?
Well, no, that's definitely not how that works. It would be nice, though.
Wouldn't it be?
If once you went through one dark period, you just you were good, you were set. But life in general, life ebbs and flows.
Yes.
So if you live long enough, something else will come back around. I never. I think I wished that growing up, and I've been through some pretty interesting dark periods in my life. I think I wished that, and really spent a lot of time questioning. I thought I was good. I thought all was well, and then something came in and knocked me flat on my behind, and I was like, "You've got to be kidding me."
Yeah.
And I think what's changed with me isn't so much that I don't expect bad things or challenging things to happen. It's how I respond to them when they happen. I'm going to share this quick story. I have an amazing husband. Hi, CJ, if you're listening. And there were some things that we had been. He's a pastor. He's an educator. He does he's a Q. Hey. He does all these amazing things. And we had been praying for some things to happen in our lives, and almost in quick succession. It was boom, good thing, and we were just this is great.
Wow.
Oh my God, I can't believe all these good things are happening. And then one day we got a phone call, and we had to travel to his hometown.
Yes.
Because his mother, his father, and his oldest son, my stepson, had been murdered. And it was like a punch in the gut like I have never experienced before in my life. Because it was, how can we go from the answers to prayers to this?
Right.
And it shook us both to our core. And what has sustained us both, and I'm going to say what has sustained me, is watching him. He relied on his faith. Everything that he believed that God said is what is holding him up. And it's watching him is what's holding me up. So following him while he follows his faith in God is what is sustaining. And when these things happened and I kind of look around, the good things still happened.
Yeah.
And when I looked back over my life, sounds like a gospel song.
Yes, it does.
But looked back over my life, I realized the things that got me over, that got me out of those dark periods, was my faith. And even when I doubted, and even when I was just I can't believe, and I wanted to wallow in misery,
right,
that I'm responding differently to that now. I'm beginning to operate in my faith. So, life is gonna sucker punch you.
Yeah.
But it's how you respond to the sucker punch.
Right. That's quite a sucker punch.
Yeah.
I remember seeing you on Facebook thinking, everything's great. Your post right before that, life is good, life is good. And I'm like, whoa, what happened? What is she asking for prayer? What in the world? And Yeah, so thank you for sharing that story.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
All right, well, we will be back. Stay with us on the Live Exchange.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do.
Know someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
JBT 700 Miami Circle 30324. It's not a chain, it's a chain reaction.
Invest $49 a month at a real gym.
For more info, go to facebook.com/Jeans Body Tech.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Your health is at stake. Diabetes, gout, high blood pressure, inflammation, and joint pain, even weight loss. It's time to end your battle. The Abundant Life Movement is dedicated to the building of generational health by transforming your water with the power of alkaline to improve hydration and fight against acidic and unhealthy conditions in the body. Here's a testimonial from Linda Rogers Brown and Pamela McMillan.
2011, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I had no pain and no symptoms associated with that illness. It's a silent killer. I was introduced to Extreme X2O alkaline water, and within 2 days of drinking it, I was off all my pain medicine, and now we're 6 years strong, no chemo, no radiation, no cancer.
I am a 3-time cancer survivor. I was born with thyroid cancer. By being on the alkaline products allowed me to be able to cope currently with colon cancer. Now I'm able to function and be more mobile within 3 days of being on the product.
Extreme X2O, when the water you're drinking is damaging your health. Extreme X2O. For more info, AbundantLifeMovement.com or call 910-527-2260.
I'm more resourceful than I thought.
My suit can still make an impression.
My video games are still game changers.
And my lamp can bring others a bright future.
Because when I donate my stuff to Goodwill,
it helps fund job placement and training for people right in my community.
Now my stuff gets a second chance.
And will give someone in my community
a second chance too.
Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. That's goodwill.org. This message brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Okay, so 5 tacos of cheese and a large soda. That's $10,012. Please drive around.
Wait, 10,000 what?
It's obvious you're buzzed and driving.
I've only had a few. I'm fine.
Yeah, the food's $12, but getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Please drive around. Actually, just park and come in.
Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Primary election.
Lack of diversity.
Gas prices.
Michael Jackson. Trending topics.
All right, you guys are going to love this one. So I don't know how many of you have heard of the new HBO's proposed show, Confederate.
Yeah.
All right, well, Amazon came through with a strong clapback to HBO's Confederate. I don't know if you heard about it. It came with its own alternative history show called Black America. So Confederate, the whole premise behind that show, if you guys don't know, it envisions an alternate history where, it basically looks at what if the South had won the Civil War, and slavery never went away, and we just...
I just got a headache.
Yeah, and we were able to continue on the way things were because the Confederacy won. Well, Black America, let me tell you how do you like this one? Black America envisions an alternate history where newly freed African Americans have secured the southern states of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama post-Reconstruction as reparations for slavery. So now this is all of us.
How about that?
And with that land, the freedom to shape their own destiny.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a strong clapback.
Yes.
Shout out to Amazon.
Now, this is something that people of color, particularly black folks, could and probably should, not probably, get behind. Not this fantasy about what if the South had, would have risen Nah, bro, we good on that.
No.
We are good on that. So, but I love it. And even Black America doesn't, for those of you who are like, well, it's just two wrongs don't make a right. Black America isn't coming from the standpoint of we're oppressing people. It just comes from the standpoint that we are, yes, we're thriving. And so I love that. So, if Amazon's, and that's one thing I love about TV these days is there's so much independent TV going on nowadays.
Right.
And it's really giving us power to tell our stories from our own mouths, from our own pens, and I absolutely love it. So that's one trending topic. Number two, your president, they're at it again, and it's been reported that the Department of Justice will redirect its civil rights resources toward investigating and or suing colleges and universities, so this is my domain, over affirmative action admissions policies deemed to discriminate against white applicants.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut on this one because I don't want to offend anybody. But
yes, so this has Jeff Sessions and Steve Banning written all over it.
Oh yes,
yes. 45 is at least living to his mantra of making America great again from their standpoint.
Oh, I was like, okay.
No. Yeah. From the standpoint of what the true meaning of that phrase.
Right.
And we know what the true meaning of that phrase is. He's trying to live that whole thing out. So yes, we need to pay attention. We need to read between the lines. And it was just struck down. It was in Texas where
I remember
it was ruled that no, this was not a case of discrimination. So now we're going to open that back up and examine that again. So we're going backwards because there's nothing else that's more important, to deal with
absolutely right now.
Than this
not
issue.
North Korea or
Nope.
Russia or any of that.
That doesn't matter. Nope. And number 3, Congresswoman, I love her, Maxine Waters.
Yes, reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time.
Yes, she is letting y'all know that if you don't come straight with no chaser, she's reclaiming her time. I love her.
Go on, Aunt Maxine.
I love her. I love her.
My
and when I was living in California, I mean, she was just as vocal as she is now. It wasn't any different. It's just now that people are paying attention. Now that, social media is tweeting what she's saying. So this woman has been this way since the beginning. Love her. Love her. So those are your trending topics. Pay attention to what's going on. I know it's hard sometimes. I have to kind of monitor my own, how much of the news I take in because this is,
it's a lot.
It's interesting out there. Stay with us. We'll be right back on the Live Exchange.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. I help people solve difficult problems every day, but one problem has me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. Luckily, the Feeding America network of local food banks collects surplus food, giving hope to hungry children and their families. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Great leaders aren't born. They're made, and not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
There's a power you have within you, unlike any other. You can't explain it. It's just there. It drives you, compels you. You cannot ignore it. Do you feel it? It's that power that tells you you can do the absolute impossible. The power that tells you you're more than what you currently are. The power that tells you it's time. Launch. Move. Skyrocket your life with Rocket Sports One fitness gear. RocketSports-One.com.
Welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and we are talking life purpose. Give us a call, 678-613-5857, and you will be able to ask us questions, chat with us, insert your opinions, all of that good stuff. And I'm joined by Dr. Chantrice Holloman, and she's written a book, Teach. I was going to say think. Teach. Thinking is important, too. But teach, stay, love. My goodness, I'm stuttering on this one. So we were going to have a second guest who's feeling a little under the weather. Right. But I was going to ask this question of both of you, but it was based on his book. So I'm going to read this quote from his book. Okay. And I would love to hear what you have to say about it. So, and this is Robert Pierce, and his book is Navigating Through This Thing Called Life. And he talks about in chapter 2, when your dream dies right in front of you. Wow. And that happens. And so he says this here. He says, let me say this early on. Facing the truth isn't easy. This chapter was the hardest for me to write because I needed to confront some truths in my own life before I dare challenge anyone else to stare truth in the face. So what I wanted to ask both of you, so I'm going to ask you, what were there parts of your book that challenged you as you wrote it to face your own truth?
Yes. Yes, but they were attached to moments or situations that challenged me, if that makes sense. So writing them down wasn't hard, but the actual situation that occurred was difficult.
Got it.
And so there's and I can't remember what section of the book it's in, where I kind of I'm gonna say I ripped it off. I didn't.
You didn't keep it.
Yeah, Well, it's Tupac. So, Tupac wrote, has a whole book of poetry called The Rose That Grew from Concrete. And so I kind of borrowed it a little bit, and I said, if a rose can grow from concrete, then you can find a flower in the desert. Wow. And the whole concept behind that was being in a situation that you didn't want to be in, but finding the positive in that. And so the story is this, that I was at my previous school, and I was really unhappy. And I wanted to leave. I was just fed up, and I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to be here. And then something really interesting happened. Like, I was looking for jobs, and nothing was coming through. And then I got really sick. I have lupus, and so I ended up having to go to the emergency room. I was in excruciating pain, and they couldn't figure out what was going on. And finally, I went to the doctor the next day, and he's looking at my test results, and he fussed me all the way down. Like, I think he made me even use actual cuss words. Because I was that person. I was the workaholic. I was the one who was going to put in 20 hours a day of a 24-hour day, doing things. And he had been telling me for a while.
This was post-lupus diagnosis, so you knew.
Well, no, I did know.
Okay.
I was diagnosed in 2006.
Got it.
And so this is 2015.
I see.
Okay. And, I'm not one to admit when I'm not feeling well. I'm not, I'm always have the brave face on. And he pretty much told me, he said, if I'm putting you on medical leave. And I was just like, I can't be on medical leave. I have to go to work. I have things I have to do. I have projects. He said, if you don't sit down, you're going to die.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, well, when you put it like that. And so a really interesting thing happened. I called my principal, and I told her what happened, and she said, great. She said, I need you to rest. She said, we'll take care of everything until you get back.
Wow.
And I remember kind of looking at the phone like, did she just say that they were going to take care of? And so that's kind of where the quote came from, because, and if you read it in the book, I said, had I been someplace else, had I gotten the job that I thought I wanted, had all of these things come through and this happened, I'd have been fired.
Yeah.
I might very well have been living under a bridge.
Wow.
But because I was in this place that I thought was my barren land, I was able to receive what I needed, which was the support from my administration, the support of my colleagues, the support of my students, and at the same time, I was working on my dissertation. And so
I know how that is.
Yeah, so I had to become grateful for this moment where I wasn't admit, I needed some help.
Yeah.
And there's an old adage that said if you don't take time for yourself, the universe or whoever it is that you believe, that for me, God knocked me on my behind and told me to just sit down somewhere.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. And what jumps out at me is when you said, that barren land that you thought you were in, and lo and behold, what you needed was actually there.
It's a flower in the desert.
Wow. Yep. Did you guys get that? That's really good. That's really good. Well, I hate to transition out of that, but we got to get into some research.
In the interest of science.
All right, so the science that we're going to get into is a little bit counterintuitive to what we've been talking about. So I don't know if you've heard of, there's a whole school of thought out there. It's called absurdism and nihilism. Have you heard of either?
Yep.
So, and I'll define for you all what this is. So, in a nutshell, there is no such thing as life purpose, is where this whole idea comes from. So the absurd, which is the root for absurdism, refers to the conflict between the human tendency to seek inherent value and meaning in life and the human inability to find anything.
Wow.
So it's kind of like that idea that our search for purpose is absurd because there's no purpose out there. And it's that process of searching that they're labeling absurdism. In this context, absurd does not mean logically impossible, but rather humanly impossible. The universe and the human mind do not each separately cause the absurd, but rather the absurd arises by the contradictory nature of the two existing simultaneously. So the whole idea is that there is no such thing as purpose, and by spending our time and our energy and our minds on trying to seek it out, we are in a state of absurdism in that process. So it goes on to, and this comes from the larger, like I said, idea that there is no such thing as life purpose, and that's from the nihilist point of view. So there's a chart here that I pulled, and it looks at 4 different belief systems. So we have atheistic essentialism. We have monotheistic essentialism. Monotheistic is more, I believe in a God.
Right.
Atheistic is I don't believe in a God. Absurdism is what I just said. There's really no greater purpose here. And then nihilism is probably the most extreme to the whole idea.
Right.
Absurdism at least allows room to explore whether or not there is purpose.
And
Nihilism
says,
is like,
nah.
no. Ain't it. So if you look at the different viewpoints from each of these, so for example, there is a such thing as meaning or value. Atheist says yes. Monotheistic says yes. Absurdism says maybe. Nihilism says no. The other question is, there is inherent meaning in the universe. Atheistic says no. Monotheistic says yes, but the individual must have come to the knowledge of God. Absurdism is maybe, but humans can never know it. And then nihilism, no.
Nihilism is just no. All
No.
yeah.
No. The pursuit of meaning may have meaning in itself. So that whole, the pursuit of finding meaning and purpose may have meaning. Atheistic says yes. Monotheistic says yes. Absurdism says maybe. Nihilism says no. So it's just that whole, it's interesting because I never thought that there was a continuum between, representing, yes, there absolutely is purpose. No, there absolutely is not purpose. Not from a scholarly standpoint.
Right.
There is literature out there where people are, I don't know how they study this. but it's social science, and there's a lot of different ways that we look at things. And then the other two, individuals' construction of any type of meaning is possible. The first three, yes, yes, yes. The last one, no. And then the last one, there is resolution in the individual's desire to seek meaning. Yes, yes, maybe, and no. So when we come back, we're going to delve into this a little bit. So stay with us.
I haven't thought about that.
Yes, I would love to hear it. So we'll be right back on the Life Exchange.
Coming to Tampa Bay, I said we want to win a Super Bowl, and I believe we will.
From IamSecond.com.
We came close, but never really did win that championship.
Former NFL head coach Tony Dungy.
At the end of my 6th year, I was fired, and it was one of the biggest disappointments of my life. Next year, I'm in Indianapolis, get to the playoffs, but get knocked out again. And for the next couple of years, it's the same thing. Everyone is saying Colts are never going to win one. And I did wonder, why didn't it pan out the way I thought it would? But I determined that I had to have Christ first, and that everything else came below that, including my own desires. The next year, that ended up being our year to go to the Super Bowl and win it. And it was a wonderful feeling. Every decision I make, I'm going to make it through the lens of Jesus Christ, and He'd guide us to that ultimate victory. I'm Tony Dungy, and I am second.
There's a power you have within you, unlike any other. You can't explain it. It's just there. It drives you, compels you. You cannot ignore it. Do you feel it? It's that power that tells you you can do the absolute impossible. The power that tells you you're more than what you currently are. The power that tells you it's time. Launch. Move. Skyrocket your life with Rocket Sports One fitness gear. RocketSports-1.com.
So, I'm a dog, and I just got adopted by this new human guy, and I'm starting to wonder how he got along without me. I mean, okay, something as simple as walking around the block. He's got this leash thing, and he puts me on one end and him on the other, and I'm just taking him around. I think he's afraid of getting lost. Without that leash and me guiding him along, I don't think he'd find his way back home. But it's kind of cute.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Major key alert. Life is like school. You will be tested, so pass it.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchooled.com. Brought to you by Get Schooled and the Ad Council.
Deliberate dumbing down.
Dumb down society.
Deliberate dumbing down of America.
Dumb down public. Why would they do this?
Sensation Station Network. Radio, not dumb down.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. We are currently in the science. We're looking at the research, and that is sponsored by Peasy Heads. Peasy Heads. They do natural hair products.
Love it.
Yes, and then coming up, we're going to get, I have another love note with some advice, and we also have the balance challenge coming up. But right now, I just presented the whole concept of absurdism and nihilism, which comes from the body of work that asserts that there is no such thing as life purpose, and the pursuit of such leads us into a state of absurdism. So what are your thoughts on that, Dr.
Okay,
Hellman?
so the very first thing that kind of came to mind is, okay, and I don't know how people are going to receive this, but if you spend your life trying to pursue purpose, then you're not living.
Okay.
My thought is that you live your life and purpose will find you. The problem is that for a lot of us, we don't listen.
Yes.
Or we ignore the signals, or the little things that kind of cross our paths. That might have been coincidence, but that could have been a hint, a God wink, as it were.
Right.
And I think that we and the reason why we get frustrated is we keep looking for our purpose. And we keep looking for it, and we keep looking for it, and we're so focused on trying to find whatever we think our purpose is, that our purpose could be sitting over here like waving like, hey, I'm over here, but because you're so focused on pursuing it that you don't notice, or that you don't know that it's right here. I think you live long enough, it will find you once you start paying attention to what's going on. Like, for example, I have a coworker, a former coworker named Jenna. Hi, Jenna. I hope you're listening. And Jenna was always told that she had like beautiful handwriting, and she does. And I wish I had her. She made me all of these lovely little notes to give to my teachers, and I was just like, "Did you just stumble across this?" And she said, "Well, no. People always told me I had nice handwriting, but now, like, it's gone from just I have nice handwriting to now like I ordered more notes from her. I'm like, I'm gonna need 30 more of these, and now like other people are coming along like, these are so great, I need to buy this much." And she wasn't looking for that. And she does a whole bunch of other stuff, but she wasn't looking for that. She was just living life. And she was just sort of doing what she loved, and all of a sudden, and they're all these really encouraging notes, so she can make whatever you want, but she wasn't looking for it. It just kind of came up to her and was like, "Hi," and she was like, "Hi," and now she has this wonderful sort of side hustle that she's doing. And so I think that we get frustrated because we're looking for it instead of living and continuing to move forward and letting it kind of find us.
That is so interesting. It's like love.
Yeah, it is exactly. Stop looking for it, and it's gonna show up. Yes. One day I have to tell you the whole story about how my husband and I met. Yeah, I wasn't looking, and he just showed up, and I was like, "Really?" Because I wasn't looking for you, and
there he
is. There he is.
Wow. Well, but I love that because it gives this whole concept of absurdism more of a grounded standpoint, so it's not because and even in looking at these 4 questions, there's such a thing as meaning or value. There's inherent meaning there in the pursuit of meaning. It doesn't say no, that there's no meaning in the pursuit. It says maybe. And so if your pursuit becomes this thing that actually holds you back from finding your purpose because you're looking so hard, then you're wasting your time, or I love that. I actually never thought about it that way. So
that was the first thing that came to mind. I was like,
that's really good. That's really good. Well, that's really great. Oh, I thought you were going to say something else. So we have the whole idea of absurdism, and then we have nihilism. Again, nihilism is don't even look, it ain't there. It's not coming to you.
Those are the miserable people.
It's not. And I wonder, though, if we looked at just that particular group, I don't know, do you know anybody who has kind of approached life in this way? And how because if I had somebody here at the table right now, I would ask them, how do you get through the storms? How do you get through the hard times if you don't have purpose? Because for me, that's the only way I know how to. And I'm just wondering, is there some other strategy that I just don't know about?
Yeah, I don't know. I do know people who are just like, we're here, and that's it. And I'm just like, that's a really sad existence. And on the one hand, some people will say, well, yeah, but if I'm not looking for purpose, then I have no pressure to find it.
Yeah.
So that means that I can kind of live my life how I want to.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
And it's great, but just in my spirit, I'm just like, okay, maybe that's what works for you.
But there's no spirit.
But there's no.
If you're not.
Yeah, I don't know how you're doing that. But they say, some people seem to be really happy.
Yeah.
And they're just like, hey, I don't have the pressure that you guys have, and I'm like, oh. Yeah. Okay, and then I've seen some people who are miserable, and I want to say part that I think sometimes people get to that point because they're trying to find their purpose instead of just because it's getting real frustrating. If you're looking here, and you're not finding it, it's like, well, then there must not be one.
Well, it's interesting because I have people ask me that question a lot. I mean, a lot of the work I do deals with purpose. The book that I'm writing deals with purpose. So I have people asking me, how do I find my purpose? How do I find my purpose? And, and what I've always told them, I'm going to have to think about how I, address that question now. But what I've always told them is it's just in what you love to do. So just keep doing that, and the rest of it will unfold. But just focus on what it is that you love to do.
And that works too. Yeah. And that works too.
Yep. And it doesn't, what I'm also finding though, it doesn't always come out of what you enjoy. Because there are things that I've found, ways in which I have touched people's lives and helped people, and I would not have wished for that particular position because it means that because I inspired them because I went through a divorce and I went through it in a way that inspired other people to rethink how they divorce. I don't want to be the role model for that. So So sometimes it just comes out of your journey. There's a concept called post-traumatic growth, and that is when you go through a traumatic experience. And trauma is relative.
Right.
So for some people, one situation that's traumatic may be like, what, really, for somebody else.
Right.
So we define trauma based on our own experiences in our journey. But when we have experienced a traumatic situation and we have learned how to rise and live better lives or be stronger as a result of that experience, that's what's termed post-traumatic growth.
That makes sense.
We don't want to be people who have had to experience post-traumatic growth, because that means we've had to experience the trauma.
The trauma, right.
But there's a lot of times no way around experiencing the trauma. It is what it is. It's, it's part of the journey of our lives. It's not something that we don't necessarily say, well, I'm glad that happened, so now I can...
Woo, yes, that pain was great.
Right. That is not... But when it does happen and we do grow from it, it does... part of the research behind post-traumatic growth is that you're a catalyst for change to other people, even without trying, just in them watching you.
Well, and I'm anybody who knows me knows that, I say this often, is that we never go through anything for ourselves. It's always for somebody who we haven't met yet.
Right.
So when you kind of think about that trauma, it's like, okay, clearly I'm going through this for someone that I'm going to meet, I don't know when, but when I meet that person, I'll know.
Yeah. And if you can be conscious of that, because a lot of times we don't, we're just in our own...
Oh yeah, this is all 2020.
Yeah,
I definitely wasn't thinking about this while I was going through.
We it's why is this happening? Everything was great, and now this, and So, but if we can somehow pull that mindset into play in the midst of it, it's not easy.
Yeah, I'm not there.
But if we can do that, it's one way of getting through. And post-traumatic growth actually trains our brains to think that way when we go through subsequent traumatic situations. We get better at dealing with trauma.
I have learned so much on this show today. I'm so excited.
Good. Okay, balance challenge.
Your balance with Dr. Pamela. Dr. Pamela. Dr. Pamela.
Okay, so the balance challenge is brought to you by BBLA Cosmetics. Breathe Beauty LA. They are the ones responsible for my face. And I love it. I love the work that they do. So check them out. They're in the Sugarloaf Mills Mall, but they also have a website, bblacosmetics.com. So the Love Your Life, or the Balance Challenge, I'm transitioning into changing this name, so just you got a sneak preview. But the Balance Challenge, so this, we talked about it the last hour, the Ikigai, and I'm going to post it so you can see what it looks like, but it really looks at 4 primary elements. It looks at what do you love, what does the world need, what can you be paid for, and what are you good at? The intersection of those 4 elements is how you get to Ikigai. And Ikigai is a Japanese concept for why we are here. Why are we even here? So if you can think about, is there a common answer for these 4 questions? What do you love? What does the world need? What can you be paid for, and what are you good at? And there may not just be one answer. There may be multiple answers, but the idea is that one answer goes across all 4 questions. It's not easy. It's not something that, there may be some maneuvering that needs to happen. I mentioned in the last hour that, let's say it's writing. You may love writing, but is it what the world needs?
Right.
So the answer isn't always automatically yes. There's an angle to your writing, a particular story or a particular genre that may be more of what the world needs than something else.
Right.
So, and there's not a rule to it. So somebody may say, comics, that's just a joke, that isn't meaningful. I beg to differ.
Yep.
There are people's lives that have been touched and inspired and all of this. So what you have to bring to the table may touch a particular population that may not impact another, but there's a group that you are destined to touch, to change.
Yep, I agree with that.
So this is your challenge for the week. I want you to look at those 4 elements. What do you love? What does the world need? What can you be paid for? And what are you good at? Those are the things I want you to consider. Find out what that one thing is that rings true for all 4 of those, and you will have achieved Ikigai. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Listen, as a hiring manager, I've got to tell you, the best job candidate isn't always the typical candidate. Sometimes they're a grad of life.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Sometimes the best candidates aren't the ones you're used to.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Our freedom and security are made possible through the service and sacrifice of our military and first responders. The Gary Sinise Foundation provides many outreach programs supporting these brave men and women. Join us. Donate at GarySiniseFoundation.org.
Indoor baseball, anyone?
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
This is big business. This is the American way.
Station Network.
See ya.
Welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela. It's Smooth Love Hour.
I love that. Yes.
I love it. I love it. So we're talking about life purpose, and I have Dr. Chantrice Holloman who's joining me to share in this discussion. She's had some really great insight on this as well, particularly with the research, and we had spoken about absurdism, and I just couldn't wrap my mind. I was like, why would anybody bash the whole pursuit of purpose? Like, I don't get it. And she put it in such beautiful terms. So, and if you missed it, you're just going to have to go back and listen. But in a nutshell, she said that we just shouldn't be so consumed with finding purpose that we forget to live our lives, that we really, it can be just right there, but we're so laser focused on, where's my purpose? We can miss it. Yep. And same is the case with love, and we hear that all the time. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you, and you kind of answered the question in the beginning, but I want to just ask you straight out because I want to hear what you have to say. But why are you here?
Well, that's not a complex question at all.
No.
Wow. I don't know if there's one answer to that question. When I look at my life, I'm definitely here to be a mother. I have an amazing, shout out to my daughter, an amazing 20-year-old, but who's at LSU. So I definitely know that I'm here for her, but I also have lots of other kids. I have lots of other children who have found their way into my life, and so I'm definitely here for them. I'm here to support my husband. I'm here to be a great daughter. Oh, Mom and Dad, I hope you're listening. Gosh, if I was going to go bigger than that, I think I'm here to help people who have been wounded by life, which is, I think that's the first time I've said that out loud. Because
all in her personal business.
Because when I look at sort of who I'm helping and the people, and I believe that God sends you people on purpose, that there are people that you are connected to because there's something in you that you have to share.
Yes.
And I've learned, like I said, from a child who was terrified to speak in front of people, I'm now, I do it in my sleep, to a degree. So I think that
She's a Holloman
Holloman Speaks, which is actually my blog.
So she went from the child who wouldn't speak to the woman
to
who
just,
you gonna hear me speak.
Yeah, you gonna hear this, and you may not like it, but you ain't got to follow me, so that's okay. So I think I'm here to make the world a better place. And I know that sounds really, sort of, frou-frou, she-she, warm, fuzzy, but I believe that. I believe to a certain degree we're all here.
Yeah.
To do that, in the words of Michael Jackson, heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. But I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that's why I'm here.
Well, it's interesting, when you said, oh, it sounds foo-foo shishi, and it's funny because the foo-foo shishi stuff is now getting its merit.
Right, it is.
There's a whole field, it's called positive psychology now, and so now we're able to embrace that without feeling like they're going to think that I'm just being, this kind of way. But there's actually a lot of merit into that. And for those of you who are not familiar, positive psychology is the study of happiness. And so it's the study of, what has gone well in our lives and what's working. Traditional psychology.
I like that so much better.
Yes, and that's, the basis of all the work that I do is in positive psychology. And when, traditional psychology is the study of what's wrong and how to fix what's wrong. And so it's not to discredit either one. It's to say that, okay, finally, we're looking at it from a multiple angles.
Positive psychology.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah. So
I've learned so much today.
And I love positive psychology so much. I've actually been looking at getting another PhD in it.
I'm definitely not looking at that.
She's like, I'm not with you on
I have one.
that.
I'm good.
But I absolutely love the field so much. And I have been told by my mentor, you better sit down and you don't need to get no more degrees.
Right.
So I will possibly listen. Possibly. So one of the questions I have to ask is, I'm all about love. I love love. And I have to ask a question about you and your husband. And you have a distinct purpose. I'm sure he has a distinct purpose.
He does.
Are you aware of that purpose that he has? And is there any intersection between the purposes that you both have?
Well, he's a pastor. And he will tell you that he was called years and years ago, and I know that his purpose is to lead, and I know that his purpose is to use the challenges in his life in order to help spread the gospel and heal those who are hurting. And when I look at my own life, I've been through some stuff, and I believe that my purpose is to spread the gospel in a different way, not as a pastor or as an ordained minister, and help heal those who have been hurt. Our lives are very, very different. He grew up in Brunswick, Georgia, in an impoverished neighborhood, and I grew up in Newton, Massachusetts, which is kind of like living in like Alpharetta. Okay. So if you had told me at 18 that somehow this was who I was going to end up with, I'd be like, how is that even possible? But when we met, and and our relationship began to grow, and he got to know me and I got to know him, I began to say, okay, I can kind of see how or why we're together, because our backgrounds are very different, but our experiences are different, but just the having to go through and having come out on the other side is one of the threads that kind of brings us together. So yeah, I think our purposes are connected.
Yeah.
Hi, CJ.
Hello. Yes, I think I love that, because I don't know, when I hear conversations about relationships, I hear relationship experts and all those, they talk about all these things that we need to be doing and that we don't need to be doing. I rarely hear them talk about the intersection of purpose between yourself and the person that you're partnering with.
Right.
And it just seems so important to me.
And it's funny because there are people he has frat brothers who will come up to me and say, y'all two were meant for each other. Like, I think that y'all were just made, because it's clear when you see us, it's clear when you hear us talk, or we're out somewhere and people will just say, boy, you two are, a match made in heaven. I'm like, yeah, we are. It's pretty cool.
Literally.
Yeah, literally.
I love it. That's great. Yeah. And so one of the things that I also talk a lot about is how when you are aligning or when you're walking in your purpose, a lot of people will do everything they can to, I don't know, pull you down or try to dismantle that purpose. And so that there's certain people in your life who are there to nurture it, and there's other people who are there, maybe they're not there to dismantle it, but that's what they're doing when they're there. How do you identify the difference between those people?
What has been my experience is that they kind of reveal themselves. The people who are in your corner, I have some amazing women in my life who have been in my life for a very, very long time. Hi, Lena. Hi, Tawana. Make sure I give them their shout out. Who are are my ride or die, who are my crew. Those are my sisters. Like if I need, I send out the bat signal and they come running.
Yeah.
And they've proved that over and over and over and over. And we may have fallen off and got back over and over. Then there are those people who are kind of there for a season. That's the old adage, season, reason, or a lifetime.
Right.
And these are my lifetime folk.
Okay.
There are some people who make it very clear that they were only here for a reason. It might have been to toughen up my skin, or they were only there to help get me to my next level. Yeah.
And I love that, because now you're not demonizing people, and you're not saying that they were out to get me. They may have been there just
they were there
to
for a
toughen your
purpose.
skin. Yes, absolutely. Well, I think we're going to a break. Are we going to a break? Okay, I hear the music coming in, so we're going to go ahead and go to break, and we'll be right back with the wrap-up.
Great leaders aren't born. They're made, and not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
Health is at stake. Diabetes, gout, high blood pressure, inflammation, and joint pain, even weight loss. It's time to end your battle. The Abundant Life Movement is dedicated to the building of generational health by transforming your water with the power of alkaline to improve hydration and fight against acidic and unhealthy conditions in the body. Here's a testimonial from Linda Rogers Brown and Pamela McMillan.
2011, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I had no pain and no symptoms associated with that illness. It's a silent killer. I was introduced to Extreme X2O alkaline water, and within 2 days of drinking it, I was off all my pain medicine, and now we're 6 years strong, no chemo, no radiation, no cancer.
I am a 3-time cancer survivor. I was born with thyroid cancer. By being on the alkaline products allowed me to be able to cope currently with colon cancer. Now I'm able to function and be more mobile within 3 days of being on the product.
Extreme X2O, when the water you're drinking is damaging your health. Extreme X2O. For more info, AbundantLifeMovement.com or call 910-527-2260.
Love Notes with Dr. Pamela.
All right, so today's question, love note, comes from Samuel Thomas, and he was just, he poured out a whole bunch of questions for me last night, and so I thought this one was a pretty good one, and it basically asks if can women make men better? Do you think a woman can make a man better? And as in the Bible, God knew he wanted to make women because man needed help. So is it part of our purpose to make women better? Is it part of our purpose to make men better? Is that part of what we are here for? What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I believe that for a woman to make a man better, the man has to want to be better.
Okay.
Who was it? I don't remember if it was a comedian or something, or it might have been watching a movie. I don't know. And there was a male character, and he said, it might have been Jack Nicholson, and he said, "You make me want to be a better man." I don't think, and I think sometimes as women we go into relationships with the old, well, I know he acts like this, but I'm gonna change him. No, you're not.
I've been there.
You're not.
It doesn't work.
Not gonna happen. He has to want to change, and if he doesn't want to change, then he's not. But I think that as women, we can inspire our men to want to be better. You may have a guy who's real selfish, but because of your love and your unselfishness toward him, he may turn around and say, you know what, I need to do better. Now, I don't know if that's our purpose, because not every woman is in a relationship, not every woman wants to be in a relationship. So.
Right, and those are two different questions.
Right.
Whether it's,
but I think that we can inspire. But again, I think the man first has to want that. Because he may be just fine being the way he is, and all of whatever you do is not gonna make him change. And then you have to decide, okay, am I okay, being in this role, or do I need to go and find something else? So.
Yeah. Well, I find it a very interesting question because I think that it's a two-way street. I think that there are ways in which the men who have been a part of my life, in whether that's my father or my brother or a good friend, have totally made me a better person.
Right.
And there are ways in which the women in my life have made me a better person. You know, some of my closest friends have challenged me on things that I never would have thought about until they brought it up.
Right.
So I do wonder, I get what he's saying from the standpoint of God creating Eve, you know, to...
No, in a marriage, that's a different story.
Right.
Okay,
go ahead.
In a marriage, I think that's a different story. I think when you're, and I'm not a relationship expert, but that when you're dating, that's one thing. In a marriage, I do believe that part of my purpose is to uplift my husband, and to make him the best, whatever it is that he wants to be, because as his wife, I think I am ordained to do that.
I agree.
Dating is a little bit different because there's no commitment there, and you just kind of in it. But as a wife, I do believe that.
And that's that line between, you know, treating a boyfriend like a husband, and, you know, and really understanding.
That's a whole different show.
Yes, we could do a whole show on that. Yes, but no, I think that's great. I think your answer is great, and I love the distinction with marriage. It is a whole different ballgame, and it is about him wanting to change. You know, and in my case, when I was married, I'm not perfect, but I did what I could to make him a better person.
Right.
And I have to say that now that we're divorced, it took, you know, he gets it, and he is a really great person now. It didn't happen when I wanted it to happen, but, you know, it certainly did. So if you would just give us your website and how to reach you.
Okay, so there's a couple of ways. You can follow me on Twitter, at Holloman Speaks. I also do have a blog, which is hollomanspeaks.com. You can also find me at www.chantricesinsholloman.com. All of those places, inbox me. I do speaking engagements, all kinds of stuff.
And I'll be sure to post your information on the thread and the website. So final words. Do you ever wonder why challenges come at you when you seem to be flowing right into your destiny? The reality is that we face threats to our purpose through every step of this journey. Our strength equals the sum total of all the battles we've engaged in to defend the purpose we've been given on this earth, to raise strong children, to inspire people, all of those things that encompass your purpose. Whatever your purpose, there are forces that threaten that mission every single day. A lost job, an illness, a betrayal, a financial setback, an unexpected temptation even. What we have to understand is that the culprit isn't the betrayer or the lost job or the illness. The culprit is our unwillingness to face ourselves, the unwillingness to step forward through it. Close your eyes and open your heart. Examine yourself. Most of what we see are mere distractions. It's what we don't see that we must pay attention to. 9 times out of 10, we are standing in our own way, and the only thing that's going to carry us through is the willingness to face ourselves and our own stuff, even when it's messy, painful, or embarrassing. There is no other way. This is how you unleash the power of your purpose. Thank you so much for joining into the live exchange today, and thank you for joining us today, Dr. Holloman.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes, we here at the Live Exchange talk about love, politics, and intellect. Join us next Thursday from 11 to 1, right here on the Live Exchange on the Sensation Station, where I'll be joined by Miss Tori Lynn, author of Taboo, and Kiavana Tantra, founder of the Corazon Yoga Studio, to discuss the art of love and intimacy. Or sex. You don't want to miss this one. I'm Dr. Pamela, and remember, love yourself to life, dance confidently in the dark, and dream wildly unrealistic dreams. Have a great week.
Live. Live.